there like.
All right, welcome into this edition, little Wednesday, December 12th, Bobby Carpenter Show coming at you strong. You guys, Schlegel just drifting around, and there he is, just popping
out, man. Peekaboo.
Pop out when the time is right, Schlegel. I mean, that's always your thing. And,
yeah,
AJ and I, we've been training with Schlegel for years. And so there's times where we have stuff going on and everybody's busy. AJ, he seems to manage to be sitting here locked in like 3 or 4 minutes before the show started. And I'm here. Where's Schlegel? Just wandering around. And AJ, where did you say you thought Schlegel may have been?
Well, he was probably driving from somewhere, like maybe some shelter, feeding some people, and then he picked up 2 or 3 people on the way home that maybe needed a ride, and I picked him up some soup or something. He's like, oh, you guys want to go to Jersey Mike's or something? Picked him up something, and I was telling Bob, I was joking before we started, like there'd be a random dude sitting in the background of Schlegel's shot, and Schlegel, oh, don't worry, buddy, I'll get you home after the game. Just randomly helping out people wherever it is. That's what Schlegel does.
He's got a big heart, man.
Love people. Right there, man. Hey, you got to. Or all the times where it's like, people don't know this, but I see Sean Perkins, not all the time, but we obviously joke. I see Jay Hooten there all the time. And Jay had Al Johnson, and Al Johnson was just basically beating down Jay Hooten as the intern at Ohio State.
You explain who these people are. Jay Hooten was the strength coach.
All right, so Jay Hooten was our strength conditioning intern GA for Al Jiggity. Okay, now this is back in the day, guys, when they had Gatorade protein shakes in cans, and they were like in the coach's office, locked behind 2 plexiglass doors, so we couldn't get in. But then we also had a group at 7, but we all wanted to work out at 6. So we would get there, and then Bobby would literally like, oh, I got this. Boom, pop the door. It was a beautiful thing to witness. AJ and I are just sitting there laughing because we're just going to go work out, and we're just like, oh, yeah, that was Bobby, right? And then Jay would come in and like, yeah, now I got to get here super early so you guys don't break the door off the hinges. Like, oh, that's all Bob, but yeah, we work out, guilty by association. So anyways, yes, we all do all these things, but most of the time I was not always late, but I was late for our workouts. 1, because you would call me and I would wake up like, oh yeah, I'm already driving. And I was not. I was still in my bed. 2, there was a backup line at McDonald's right there on Hilliard Rome Road where I would just pop in and get 2 sausage muffin with eggs and 2 hash browns and a large Coke as I went in. Super great with my diet back then, by the way. But I needed some fuel for the fire that was coming hot in the Woody, 6 a.m., just us 3 working out, getting bumpy. 2, who is that? Blunt, James Blunt. This is what I had to listen to, guys. And I'm like rap and
get
hard rock.
You loved it.
James Blunt. And I will say I grew an appreciation of Dave Matthews and the musicians that they are for the amount of times I listened to them while we were all working out. But
don't forget Gavin DeGraw too. I mean, he was making an appearance on that set list.
And then we had the Chicks Rockin' 80s volumes 1 through 5. That was epic. Chick, by the way, side nugget, D coordinator at Arkansas State, Wolfpack,
Rob Harley. Rob Harley for people.
Chick.
That,
yes. Yeah, but he was Chick Harley, the house that Chick built. He was like his great-great-grandson, if I'm not mistaken.
Grandnephew, I think. Great-grandnephew.
It doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Yes.
Fruit of his loins. The fruit of his loins.
Yep. Yeah.
So there you go. So that, as we explained who Jay Hooten was, who then was the strength coach at Northwestern for 15 years. Now he works with Schlegel at the Armory, and was giving everybody a little inside baseball into that and how, back in the day he used to do a lot of stuff, and we'd, help him out and give him a hard time. And it was amazing his ascension and what he was able to do. And AJ always loved it because. Is he a Xenia guy, AJ? He said Xenia was always better than Centerville.
Yeah, he was at Wayne for a while too. I know he went back and was a strength coach back there. But yeah, any guy with Dayton roots, it's easy. The weight room comes easy. It is fun to see like Jay, like you said, his ascension, seeing everywhere that he's been. And Schlegel, I can imagine working with you on a daily basis. Everyone around you obviously loves it, man. Yeah,
Jay's amazing. He came into the Woody this year. I think it was like in February. I'm like, dude, you need a job. Like, you're my guy. I'm like, come on, man, let's go. Let me take you over to the Armory. Check this place out. Let's do some things here.
Hey, Age, what's it been like talking to Saban? Because everyone sees him. He always looks so angry. Kind of reminds probably people, us guys that played for him, Mark D'Antonio, and Mark coached for him for like 5 years up at Michigan State. Always looks so angry. And then I'm watching you just chop it up with him, having a good time. He seems like a much different dude now in retirement.
He definitely has some Coach D'Antonio vibes to him. Like they have a similar demeanor at times. But I mean, I don't claim to know Saban like very well, but I've gotten to be around him in person multiple times and talk to him. He comes on the show every week with Pat, and he's such a football dude. Like and then not only what's weird about him is he obviously old school. He's the guy. Like in college football, what he has done it's unbelievable. But he also like seems to be constantly like evolving and thinking about whatever like the newest things or how you should do it. Now I'm sure you guys have heard him. He said, well, whether we like it or not, like when he's talking about a certain thing, whether we like it or not, it's here. We got to deal with it. We have to deal with this, and we can't sit here and complain about it. We got to find a way to make it work. I like how he does that with, it seems like everything. He's always like learning, always questioning. Like it's cool to see because the dude operated at such a high level for so long. And there's no, it's not a surprise that I think he's really good on there.
As you look, like, again, talking with Saban, and side nugget, Mark D'Antonio is going into the Hall of Fame. I think it's this week. We've already said the kudos to him, but it's like happening now. When you're looking at a Saban, and obviously both of you two, like this is kind of open for both of you guys. As you see the way that college football is now, and Saban's like, hey, we're trying to deal with these things. What are some nuggets, like things that are going to happen in the future in college football that you see there's these situations and they have to change, and how do we change with them, with the times?
Bob, I don't know if you got anything that's been in the top of your skull that you feel like needs to change, but I don't know what it's going to look like a couple of years from now. I really don't. I know that ruling is coming in the spring. That's going to change. They're going to kind of get a rev share, like a / salary cap situation. Bob, do you know what that's going to do?
Yeah, I think where schools can give like up to $21 million to players. Football.
But then you still need that collectives, right? Because they can still get money on top of that, right?
Yes, you can still give money on top of that as well. And like I just saw there was this deal where they can buy, part of the settlement is like the school or the athletic department, whoever it is, like their media arm, can buy the rights of your NIL to them. And I don't know if that's for a year or for a contract, like a 3 or 4 year period. And then you can do stuff outside of that, but that things have to go through a clearinghouse, like at the university. Because I know this basketball player from Massachusetts that's going to BYU, like the number one dude in the country. Like, how's he going to BYU? Why is he going there? I guess they have some sort of sick NIL package. And I think it's them kind of buying his rights. And I'm not exactly sure how it looks. I haven't dove on into that. The one thing that was interesting, though, like outside of NIL, which is here, and Schlegel, I love that you ask AJ, like, as if he's got some sort of a crystal ball that he's like magical.
Well, it was for both of you guys, but like, I mean, he's in there talking with Saban, he's talking with Pat. You guys have played in the league. I didn't see it going more toward the NFL. There just is the problem with college is there's just too much gray area. You gotta eliminate. I hate gray. Eliminate the gray in terms of business. How do we do that?
Well, no, Schlegs, the number one problem with college is, and it was your number one problem with college as well, is there's a thing called class. And like you're still in college to go to school. Maybe
I love class.
Oh yeah, of course. You loved it because you never went. Because it was something that you got to talk about. It was more of a theory than an actual reality. But just talking with some of the coaches, some of the guys, it's wild. Like our contemporaries now, talked like Hartline and Laurinaitis, Rob Harley, guys who we played with, Marcus, like they're our age. We play with them, and now they're the ones having to deal with this. And so what's amazing is you talk to them and guys like our age that they understand, like, man, this transfer portal thing is crazy. And like, you have these 2 windows, like, of course, like at the end of your freshman year, you're psychologically exhausted. You've gone through this crazy long year, like, and especially now, like you're in the playoff or whatever. He's like, guys are spent and they're upset they didn't play more. They wish that things aren't going to be happy. And it's like, hey, just wait till after spring ball. Like there's going to be a lot of guys that leave, like guys that go on to the next level, things change, but they're like, no, I just want to get in the portal right now, see what's up. Like people will give me more money. It's going to be a different situation. And so like this dual portal window, and it was suggested to me by one of the coaches I was talking to, it's like, just have one at the end of spring, get through winter conditioning, get through spring ball. And I told him, like, dude, I was I mean, as you guys well know, like I was an emotional wreck. Like at the end of the season, like, I would have gotten the portal probably after every fight with Fickle. Like, screw you. I'm getting the
I'm
portal.
going to the portal.
Screw you. I'm in the portal. You don't want me here. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And like when Fick said, get off the field, and I started walking off the field, he said, what are you doing? Like, you told me to get out of here. Like, I didn't really mean it. Get back on the field. But like, you're talking with guys that are 18, 19, 20. They're used to being stars. Like, I'm not playing as much, or what happened? You got injured. It's like something's always better somewhere else. And so these guys never get this opportunity to grow because that's like, poof, get in the portal. And you know what happens? Next year, the same time, same guys are in the portal. And that's probably the number one thing, Age, I look at it where, I mean, you were a level-headed dude and like, hey, just show up, go to work, do your deal. But someone's like, hey, man, like, forget these guys. Like, they're not playing you. You can go play more somewhere else. And like, unless you are very grounded, have a great relationship with your coach, like your high school coach says, hey, don't listen to these other people, stay where you're at. Your parents are grounded. Like, you get a lot of people in your ear and everything starts sounding better than what your current reality is.
Oh, I get it. I understand. Like, everyone wants to go somewhere they're wanted. So if you're sitting there and you feel like, hey, I'm not getting the time and I don't really see a path to where I would be playing anytime soon. Yeah, I understand, especially if another team is coming in and offering you can find a way to get some more money from them. And it looks like you got a path to start and to play wherever that may be. I get it. I understand it. But I think, yeah, you got to have people around you that you could talk to. And if it's something you're thinking about, it's not just a rash decision that all of a sudden, bam, here we go. I'm pissed. I'm not playing in our third down package now or whatever, and you're out of here. It's got to be more thought out. But yeah, that's something that we're going to see play out here over the next 5-10 years.
So like, you're a level-headed dude, but let's say the same structure is in place and your son Hendrix, who is currently in 6th grade, what is that, 12? So like 7 years from now is playing college football, and he's not as level-headed as you. Maybe he's got more of his mom's fire and passion. Like, imagine those conversations where he's like, they're like, screw these guys, Dad. Like, they promised me. I mean, that's a hard thing as a parent and he's got you who's gone through it, but I can't even. My dad told me, he's like, you're going to hate it every day. So be prepared. Like, if you don't think it's going to be, if you think it's going to be easy, you're lying to yourself. And I think I don't know if you were on Age. I think maybe told Schlegel this. Like, it's comical to think of this because you guys remember when I had to have those meetings with the coach that Tress set me up with. We read Sacred Hoops together as book club with Phil Jackson, like trying to monitor my emotional levels. But even during that time, and this is no joke, and I don't know if I told you Schlegel on the show, but I had even emailed some of the coaches at Cincinnati where Mark D'Antonio was. I think it was Mark Staten, and no one ever knew about this, not even Tress. I think it was my brother, maybe D'Antonio, but I didn't talk directly to him, but I talked to Staten. And I was like, hey, does Cincinnati accept like senior transfers? Because I know I'd have to sit out. Like, could I transfer now? I don't even know why. Probably because I had a bad spring practice and got in a fight. It's probably the day Fick kicked us out of the spring, the Jersey scrimmage.
Did they get back to you? Just Cincinnati? Are they allowed to get back? Oh, yeah.
He talked to me. He goes, we'll keep this quiet, whatever. I go, just let me think about it. I mean, seriously. And that was with me having to sit out a year.
But that's normal, though. Like, that's a normal, like, 18 to 22-year-old. You're going to have things like that. And football's an emotional situation. So, yeah, like, you got to go. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer. I don't have any answers, actually. But it's
the hardest thing is team development. Like, it really does. That's why I hate the portal. It really does happen in the winter. And then if you did only have the one in the spring and they can go into summer school, you've lost that. Now that guy is actually way behind the 8 ball because they didn't go through spring football, at least, to actually understand where their fit is. Like, your guys, potentially what you could be getting, but they still got to learn it, and you don't have live bullets. And the whole team atmosphere in the winter in college football is significantly different than it is in the NFL. It's why I love it, but I don't. And I transfer to Ohio State. So it's just a tough scenario, man, that we all have to deal with. And I love your deal, Bob. Like, you were going through and talking to these guys, because I can totally see this playing out. And I do remember your private book club. And then AJ and I are just pulling you off the ledge. It wasn't the coaches. Like, we had your shirt, and then AJ and I are like looking at each other like eyeball to eyeball. Like, Like, we're just going to keep holding on to this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, doesn't matter.
The passion is what makes it fun. But that's what I told someone. I would have transferred 18 times in the portal. Like, my dad probably wouldn't have let me. He's like, I'm not going to let you do this to be an idiot. But because he always says it'll be the hardest thing you ever do. And my thing is like, after that first spring, you then realize like, okay, I can kind of do this. I didn't play because of these reasons. And AJ, I think of your mindset after that first spring, how much different it was. Once you're kind of playing, the defense, like you're familiar with the coaches. College isn't like overwhelming. Like, it's just a much different situation when you come into that first spring and then go into that first summer fully out of it.
Oh yeah, coming in your first spring, you've played a little bit on the field and you know guys, and you've gone through, like Schlegel said, you've gone through the winter, the 6 a.m.s. Like that right there brings every team together just because of how tough it is, I think, everywhere you go. But yeah, the difference you feel in spring ball after your freshman season compared to what you felt like going into like freshman camp. Yeah, you're in a completely different world, I think.
Well,
go ahead, Bob.
Oh, you get one more, and then we got to get him going because he's.
I know. My question was this though, like, how much is this now going toward the NFL? Because the beauty of college age is that we're all there together for 4 years, and then you get to the league, and it's like, you go into the meeting the next day, and like, where's Jimmy? Like, Jimmy, I thought Jimmy was playing good. He just got cut, and now he's gone, right? The relationships of college is what makes it special. How much of that is going to have an impact on even guys' experiences when you're talking to your own kids about it?
I hope it is. I hope they get the college experience. Like, yeah, class, all of it's part of it. Stuff you don't want to do. Like, it's all part of the college.
Bars,
yeah, I mean, the things. Yeah, it's hanging out with everybody.
Shaving eyebrows.
Yeah, doing all that stuff is part of the college experience, man. You're young. You only get one chance to go there, and hopefully they get that to where they get those lifelong friends. Like, that's what you get in college, especially when you play football. So yeah, I hope they still have that.
Absolutely. Wage, we appreciate it, man. You got Pat here in about 10 minutes. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Enjoy it, dude. We'll catch up soon.
All right. See you guys.
The Hawk.
Yeah, cut him off. Cut him off. All right, attention, parents and athletes. Protect what matters most with export mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. If you're like AJ, you still have that beautiful grill he's got now. You want to protect it. Protect it with exports because they're scientifically tested to absorb those high-impact hits. AJ doesn't care about his brain, neither does Schlegel, but it will protect that. And what's more importantly, the aesthetic version, your teeth. You want to look good. Export mouth guards have 3 layers of advanced protection, including patented use of carbon fiber. They 3D print that bad boy right to your grill for more protection, better performance, max comfort, clear communication so you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety or your teeth. Go to exportguards.com/Bobby. Save 15% on your order. Export. Protect what matters most. More of the Bobby Carpenter Show coming up next.
Start.
The Big Play Sports Network. Download the free app today to watch all of your favorite hosts on demand.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer. All right, welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show. And Schlegel, I don't know if I'd ever told you. Did you ever know that before? I thought I had told you.
I knew the book. I knew the book story. I didn't. I probably forgot about you calling Cincinnati because that was probably right when I got there.
No, this was.
Oh, this was after 2004.
This was going to my senior year, Schlegel. You didn't listen to all the information.
No, yeah, exactly. I did. Now I started thinking about it. I'm like, why? Because you're doing great. It was probably because you just got tired of Fick yelling at you for reading Bucknuts in the back of the deal playing Journey, the one with the Phoenix on the front of it.
Yeah,
in his back
journey's
deal.
greatest hits. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, like, if you ask me why, I couldn't give you one good reason today why that was going on. Maybe, I don't know. But at the time, I probably had like 20 good reasons in my head.
Yeah.
And that's like sometimes in life, I'm a big believer in personal choice. You know, you make your bed, you got to sleep in it, man. It is what it is. But at some point, like, you've got to equip people with the tools to be able to make those decisions. And these young guys coming up, they've never had to go through anything that's really hard. And the beauty is in the growth. And, you know, people will talk about Schlegs, is it the journey or the destination? And I heard an unbelievable line about it. Like, it's neither the journey nor the destination that's the best part. It's who you become along the journey is what makes the destination so sweet. So, like, the journey is fantastic. You enjoy it. The destination is tremendous. But how you change during that process is what ultimately sculpts you and makes you who you are. And that's that process of college, where it's evolving you for all students, but especially for ones that play football or sports. And then football is even its own another subsection because it's such a large team. There's such turnover. The stakes are so high. It's magnified. And like, I look at where I am now, I'm like, gosh, man, I tell my kids this. They're like, well, you did this and you did that. I go, good, be better than me. All right. Yeah. That's my goal. I want you to have all my good and none of my bad. And there's big bags of both. And they used to battle with each other all the time. And so that's why I look at some of these guys and I try to give them a little perspective sometimes of what it actually is. And I just saw Schlegel, our guy, who I really enjoy. And I know you like him too, Chip Trainum, you know, who was an Ohio kid. He went to Arizona State, transferred back, was playing at Ohio State, did a really great job for the Bucs last year. Hopped in the portal. He goes to Kentucky. Ryan was really using him in a unique way. Got hurt, really didn't play that much this year at Kentucky. Now he's back in the portal for his fourth school, like, potentially. It's like, what does that look like? What was your college experience? Where do you have an affiliation or an association? Like, I don't know. Yeah. And that's part of that problem is you just become a nomad. Like, one transfer, I think, is fine. Like, find another place. Not everybody's going to play. But you start just like bouncing, it's greener pasture, greener pasture, greener pasture. Eventually you get to the ocean. You're like, well, where the heck's the next place to eat? And there's nowhere to go.
Well, I remember mine because I did transfer and I was at the Air Force Academy for 2.5 years, prep school freshman in my sophomore season. And I left there, one, because I was an asshole. Two, it was kind of out of principle because some of the things were being brought back and it was more of an academy issue. It was definitely not a football issue. All my guys, hell, when I got married, Bob, you and AJ and Simon Frazier were there. I had like 15 dudes that rented a 15-passenger van from the Air Force Academy and came down to my wedding through a snowstorm. And you remember
all my booze off me.
Exactly, 100%, because they have no money. And Tim Gersitz is out there rocking the Canadian tuxedo, just denim on denim. And great times. But I would say this, like, I hopped in it at different times, but I had no clue where I was going. It wasn't like I was leaving because I wanted to transfer to greener pastures. I actually took the less green pasture of all the places, and that was coming to Ohio State. And the reason I came to Ohio State was because it was the most similar to the brotherhood of the academy, and it had the best competition at my position. And that's it. That's what I want to do there. And you got to go earn it. And I appreciated that. So regardless of what transpired, it was going to be a one-stop shop. That's the hardest thing that we're finding now. And I will say this, and my wife and I have this conversation all the time. It's like, why do you feel like loyalty or, this, especially like when I coached Ohio State this last year, while I'm also running the Armory and literally going into work at 4:00 in the morning, doing mixed workout, not because I wanted to do his workout, but because I wanted to understand the flow of the room. I got 9 different workouts, right, going on in 4 racks, whether it's big speed or power, along with mixed coaching cues, not mine. He's the head duck. I wanted to feel and experience it so I can give my guys the best training experience possible. Then I went and worked at the Armory for another 8 hours. Why do you want to do that? I'm like, Stephanie, here's the deal. Ohio State put me on a trajectory that I could have not gotten anywhere else in the country. That's just part of it. Part of it is your play, but most of it is the people that you do it with. And that's why I remember when Chip transferred, it was like, damn, he could be like the next Kyle Yurcik from the 49ers in the way that they were using him. Plus, he's an Ohio guy, and just what that does for your life after football is significantly greater than the $100,000 or $200,000 that you can get going to other places, and that's why that transfer was so difficult. We're also seeing guys that have been here for 3 or 4 years that want to go on, and that's perfectly fine. Like, I root for those guys because they want an opportunity to play. Did it, like, you sustained it, you grew from it. Go add value to another team. You've already been able to graduate. Go do it. Like, that's cool with me. But it's those ones that when you just keep bouncing around, what does that look like? That's very, very difficult. And hopefully people will have level-headed people like this. And I will say this too, Ohio State has done a great job of being clear and concise in the communication to their players as to where they feel they are and how they can add value to the team. And if it's like, you know what, it's probably the best that you do leave because of your goals and aspirations, they have those candid conversations. And I respect them for that because not a lot of schools do.
Absolutely. That's a big piece of it. Some other big news, Schlegs, that ultimately came down yesterday, and we'll finish the segment with this and then kind of spill it on over into the next, is the Ohio State rep Josh Williams introduced the OHIO Sportsmanship Act on Tuesday. Act would make it a 5th-degree felony to plant a flag in the center of Ohio Stadium. 5th-degree felony, what does that mean, Schlegs? Well, that's punishable by up to 6 to 12 months in jail, a number of fines, other stuff there. And I saw this and I kind of chuckled at it. And then I thought, I hope that this doesn't gain any traction unless this ends up becoming like a full-on conference rule. It doesn't need to be a felony by any stretch. It doesn't need to be illegal, but it needs to be against the rules, I think, of the Big Ten. But the only way that I'm in for it is if this is something that's universal, that's covered everywhere, and we don't need to outlaw this thing with an Ohio bill by any stretch.
No, not at all. And I think you saw it with Stark down in Texas. Like, we ain't gonna do that. We're not about that, right? For the Texas A&M game, that's on the coaches more than it is the players, because players are the ones that play and they have the emotional, baggage and they've spilt it, they bled for it, but that it's just uncalled for. And I think it kind of goes back to our conversation, even when you and I played, Bob, about Michigan, right? It was not a hatred for Michigan. It was a respect, because you and I have dealings outside of the game with a lot of former Michigan players. Like, we've had Jake Butt on this show, and the rivalry is real. And like the fact that we can't stand them, I can't stand that color combination, nor do I have it in my wardrobe 100%. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, we both spilt it. We're both about it. But we're going to do what we do, and we're going to get off the field, right? And go celebrate with our teammates in the locker room, doing shots from that Crown bottle that you carried for like 10 weeks with Eddie George. I mean, like, that's the memory, not planting a flag or tearing down a banner or anything like that. It's just like, we go out there, we spill it. It's the most physical game that you play. 1 yard's equal to 2. You know the stakes that are on the table. And guess what? I want to walk around Columbus, Ohio with my chest held high, AKA Earl Bruce speech, right? Like, that's the why. And for the teammates and the brotherhood that you go to battle with there on the field.
Yeah. And so that's why I'm not a fan. I wouldn't want to do that. Like I said, I'm more about the part that you talked about, Schlegs, the celebrating with your team, celebrating with your fans, celebrate with the band, do whatever. I'm curious to see if the Big Ten does anything about this in the offseason. I don't think they will before the end of the year, but going into next year, just to prevent any more nonsense or anything else like that potentially happening, because it hasn't just been a Michigan, Ohio State. It's happened at other places as well, and people ultimately want to do something about that. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We have results. Put a poll out about that, some flag planting a couple days ago. We'll get the results of the poll, and former Buckeye, who's now with the Volunteers, had some comments about Ohio Stadium. Find out what those are next here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. And if we've got the results of that poll, and I'm not even sure what it is, Pat, I didn't even check on it at the end. What does it say? Is flag planting celebration? What does that say, Schlegel? An act of
It just says our flag planting celebration in college football over the line.
over the line. And most people say yes. And now I think that obviously there's some biases with that coming from immediately after Ohio State. But I've just, the old adage is if you don't want it to happen, stop it during the game, which I can appreciate that. And I understand that. And I think that is real. And there is something about like people celebrating, but like when it comes to the flag planting, like you can come into my house, you can beat me and you can do some things and talk a little trash and I'll be on your way out. But it's like if you come over to my house and we're playing poker and you beat me and take all my money, yeah, you can say whatever and you can talk trash on the way out and you can do whatever. It doesn't mean you can make out with my wife and piss on my carpet because then we're gonna have some problems. And so like there's a line that you start to cross with the threshold of decency and like humanity, and the flag planting is like I always say the symbolism behind that of like sacking the
symbolism.
Exactly. Good job on Boondock Saints. How to you? But the symbolism of that, like you were a military guy, like the sacking of the keep, the sacking of like taking the flag down, raising your own, taking that ground as yours. Like, dude, you won the game. I get it, but that's not going to happen. Not while we're here. And if it does, then there's going to be some issues with it. So I've never been truly a fan of it. And I know that we've kind of talked about that and relitigated. I just didn't know if those results would surprise you in any way.
No, not a surprise. And it makes sense and it shouldn't happen. Don't need legislation to do that. Let's make our state better as opposed to like flag planting. I want to see more of those things.
Absolutely. All right. One of the other things out here, Schlegs, that kind of popped up, former with the transfer portal now, you got guys zipping in, zipping out, going everywhere. And there's Ohio State safety. I think he was only here for a year, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe like a year and change. A former Buckeye, current Vols safety, Andre Turrentine takes a shot at the atmosphere at the shoe. Let's throw that up there. We can take a listen ultimately to what he says.
The shoe isn't as loud as the SEC. It's a different animal here. Whether you're at South Carolina at nighttime, or whether you're at Arkansas at nighttime, whether you're in Neyland at nighttime, or the daytime for that matter, is loud here. You really can't. It's deafening. I would say the shoe is the same way. They have really diehard fans that are prepared to make enough noise to that team that they need to. So I would say that the SEC is a little bit louder, but the shoe brings it as well.
Well, I mean, it's both. I mean, like, yeah, he kind of walked it back a little bit, and that's cool, right? It doesn't matter. Hey, listen, Ohio State fans, show up, show out, man. Affect that rookie, that freshman quarterback. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, a little bit of Juicy J right there for you, Schlegs. He was he's from Nashville. Was at Ohio State, I believe, 2021, 22. Was here during that time. And, it's going to get some people fired up. And hopefully that gets the folks fired up enough. I mean, his tickets are going on sale, I believe, tomorrow to the public. I think they're $100 a ticket, and gets everybody fired up because the environment at noon, it's tough. It's hard. This is a night game. This is what everybody's wanted. This is what is here. We finally get it. You get the SEC at night in December. It's checking all the boxes for you. And you've got, former Buckeye down there and some other juicy stuff like that. So it should be a pretty darn raucous environment. And if it's not, like, I'm going to be disappointed because there's a theory out there that maybe people aren't going to go to the game. Like maybe they're going to start to sell some of their tickets. I know Tennessee, they only get a 3,500 seat allotment. That's basically what a normal road team gets. So anything else they're going to have to get, they'll be buying on the secondary market. And I just encourage everybody at Ohio State and all the Buckeyes out there, like, listen, make sure you support your guys. Like, I understand the Michigan loss hurts. I understand everything else, but there's still a potential to win a national championship here. And you wanted the night game. You wanted the SEC. You get them in December. And so now that it's here, it's time to go. It's time to get loud. I'm going to be down there. My kids, like my kids are super pumped to go to this game. Like, my boys are so excited. They're excited to go to Michigan. They were ticked off and upset how it ended, especially like got an 11-year-old Schlegs. I mean, he doesn't really remember a lot of the wins. He's been like alive for more of the losses, but he's still fired up to go to this and wanting to go see Ohio State win. He's like, Dad, you think we can win this game? I'm like, abso-freaking-lutely we can. Like, we're favored by 7. That doesn't mean anything. They got to go out there and perform, but they've got all the ammunition that they ultimately need to be able to get that done.
Yeah, super excited about it. And I don't blame you, Bob. It's going to be a great experience. And if I was here, right, I probably would go to this game because why? Making memories. It's the first ever game hosted in Ohio Stadium in December. It's pretty awesome, man. Like, this is just, we're in a new age of college football where we get a little bit of the NFL experience in December at home venues. And do we like it that Ohio State is in the first round and not having a bye? No, but we are. So let's go experience it. Let's go be loud. Let's go support our guys. And let's go get that dub.
Go eating dubs, Schlegs. That's
you
and James Winston. Go eat the dubs. Like, make it loud, make it hard to play. You saw what happened with Indiana in the second half, like, and even the first half, like them trying to go on silent count, like something they hadn't practiced. And Kurt Cignetti was like, yeah, we weren't prepared for that. We didn't think it would be that loud. Here's the reality. Like, Ohio Stadium can be as loud as anywhere in the country. It is on par. It is elite when it is rolling. But when it is not, it's a huge cavernous place, and it doesn't feel all that warm. You don't feel the electricity and the excitement. You have got to pour that in. And some of that comes from the players, Schlegs, as we talked about with the emotion. Some of that comes with the fans. It's going to be
and
cold.
The coaches. And the coaches.
Yeah, and you got to call an aggressive game.
Play without fear, man. Let's go.
Yeah, play without fear. And that's one thing. Like, I encourage everybody to kind of embrace and understand is like, listen, this is a new game. It's a new day. The other goals are sacked. Like, you can't go back and take the Big Ten championship from Oregon. You can't go take a victory from Michigan, but you can go ultimately put a national championship trophy in the Woody Hayes and put it in the trophy case. And that's a big deal. And so you can do that. That's all out there. And you have an incredibly tough road. You got a chance to play Tennessee at home, going to the Rose Bowl to play Oregon. If the chalk holds, you'd play Texas in Jerry World, Schlegs. And then ultimately, if Georgia handles their side of the bracket, you'd be playing Georgia and Atlanta. I mean, I can't think of what a more difficult road that would tell a better story to be able to finish this out. But you got to get that first one, and you got to get the momentum. And if you're able to do that, all of a sudden, I think you'll start to see the mentality and the sentiment change for the feelings around this Buckeye squad.
Totally agree with you, Bob. But it starts with one. Live where your feet are. Go out there. What's the mindset? Mindset is go take it from them. Leave no doubt, right? Take them out. That's it.
Leave no doubt. Take them out, Schlegs. I like where your head's at there. We'll get into that. All right, coming up next, we got our headlines. We'll break down some of the biggest stories of the day right here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
The Big Play Sports Network. Download the free app today to watch all of your favorite hosts on demand.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool and doesn't taste like. I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. All right, welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show. Thank you for watching. Follow along. We really appreciate it. If you're watching on FanDuel TV, that's fantastic. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe on X, leave your comments, your questions. They're all out there. I think tomorrow and or Friday, we're going to do a ton of comments and questions, which they're always fun because, folks, you always come strong, and there is a bevy of them. So we want to get that heading into the weekend because next week, Schlegs, it's going to be game week. And so the Buckeyes are going to be out practicing. I think they're going to go today, tomorrow, Friday, get a little bit of the weekend, come in Sunday, and get into their normal weekly routine going into the game. With that, there's a lot of information and a lot of different stuff out there, what they could be potentially doing with the offensive line, how that's going to look. Ryan talked about that. We'll get into that tomorrow. But Ohio State's going to be playing this first weekend. Now, Lane Kiffin talked about how it may not have been advantageous to make the championship game. You know, if you lose your conference championship, you got to play that first round. It's going to be bumpy. It's going to be rough. But Kirby's smart. Like, I always enjoy listening to some coaches. And Kirby's a pretty measured and level-headed dude. I did go take a swing at Greg Sankey while he was up there, a proverbial swing, if you will, Schlegs. He was up on stage.
Oh, yeah.
During the SEC championship about them being on the road and everything. But he had some interesting comments, too, if we can toss that up, Pat, about when he was talking to the guys at the desk on Sunday in the selection show about buys and what the importance that they have.
Seedings in the playoff. What's the best approach? Conference champions, some of them guaranteed buys in the quarterfinals, or do you think it would be better for the sport to just seed the field and let the buys fall where they may?
Yeah, no doubt. Seed the field and let the buys fall where they may. I mean, look, to say that all these conferences are equal is unjust and unfair. That's not the case at all. So you need to seed it. I mean, they don't do that in the NCAA basketball tournament. They don't do it in any tournament I've been around. It makes no sense in terms of guaranteed buys. So if one team earns the right to be in a seed, they should have an advantage by doing that. There's not really a great advantage the way it was done, and I think it's something they'll have to look at in the future.
All right.
And, you know, if you look at it and you go in, like if you do use the BCS rankings, and that even takes the humans out of it because they were let off the hook because you could leave Penn State and Texas wherever you wanted because they weren't going to get buys. They're going to get jumped. But if you use the BCS, I mean, Ohio State, I believe, would have still been sitting there at 4 with a bye. I think it would have been Oregon, Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, or Ohio State, then Georgia, or Texas at the end. Some combination of those 4 would have been the top 4. They would have ultimately had a bye, but that's not the system we're living under right now, Schlegs. Those aren't the rule. That isn't the rule of law that we ultimately have.
Yeah, I appreciate it. There's a great song by 8-Ball MJG, and you were talking about it, Bob. It's called Coming Out Hard. Nobody wants to come soft, all right? Come out hard. I appreciate Kirby's comments.
James said you can't practice soft and play hard.
That's true, too.
I think Steph backed that up as well.
No doubt, right? Right, Steph? Yeah, absolutely. So you always got to bring your A game, Bob. Here's the deal, man. I think that they're gonna take a hard look at this and the way it is, and they're gonna let this play out. But I do believe that there's going to be changes. And he didn't even get into the fact of like the importance of a bye. His team's beat up. Like regardless, if you're in the Big Ten, your teams are beat up, and that's really for all teams. But his main point was not all conferences are created equal. And that's what we saw from the committee where you looked at the ACC, you looked at the Big 12, but that's also why we have a tournament. That's why they have, the NCAA tournament. But in that tournament, you could have 3 teams from one conference all be number 1 seeds. And that's really where I think it's going to end up going. They're going to say, hey, here are the best 4 teams. You're going to have a bye. And then we're just going to let it play out that way for the home games. And then we're going to go back and reseed them to where the best team plays the least team, right? And then that is fair because you did the hard work. Like you finished the season out on a high and at the best. So therefore your road to that championship should be easier than that of the 3 or the 4, right? So I think they will make adjustments. I appreciate him coming out there and saying that. But guess what? It is what it is right now. You got to go play the game, spot the damn ball, run the damn ball. Let's go.
Absolutely. We got Tailgate Talk with your questions coming up next on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. Real Truck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select Real Truck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, folks, listen, It's time for Tailgate Talk. We answer your questions. It's brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. Real Truck's got a phenomenal offer for you right now. If you head to realtruck.com and you're looking to upgrade your Jeep, truck, Bronco, interior, exterior, they've got you covered with everything. They make great Christmas gifts for yourself or even someone else. And here's the best part. If you spend more than $100, you're going to get a free a free hat. All you have to do is enter promo code Bobby at the end when you check out. That's promo code Bobby, realtruck.com. Use $100 or more. You spend $100, and that's going to be easy because there's so much great stuff on there for you to find. Schlegs and I have done it. My Jeep and truck are locked and ready to go. Might even get some more stuff here, Schlegs, before Christmas. So promo code Bobby, spend $100, get the free hat from Real Truck just for watching this show. So thank you very much. All right, we got one really good one today that we're going to get into, Schlegs. And then, folks, fire away in the comments section because Schlegs wants to do a whole show of just really comments and some stories.
Yes.
So we're going to get into that. Probably the next two, no guest, and we'll just hammer out all your stuff. But this one's from the Buckeye Fanatic 4, Schlegs. And this is a pretty good one, and it's very level-headed. So to the common fan, a lot of people argue just to abandon the run versus Michigan. As a linebacker, when your team does that, are there certain checks or things that happen you begin to ignore?
When a team just against us, Bob, like starts
abandons the run as a defensive player.
Yeah, because you know that, like, all right, we can't do anything. So what puts us in the most advantageous position to play the pass? Like, I'm gonna set, like, again, it's different now, guys. Like when we played, there was 2 back sets, and it's very different because there was a bubble to the boundary side or wherever we set the front.
Open gap.
And that was in the B gap. So boom, he hits it, he spills it. I got to be over the top. If it hits the A gap, boom, I hit it. Backside, Will Backers, cutback player. Safety's got to fill. I got to be in there. But then once you go to 1 back, especially with the zone, it's significantly easier. It's 1 back, 1 gap. But if they're like, man, I'm going to abandon this, I can say, okay, I got this number 3 guy. I'm going to expand as fast as I possibly can. I might even go from lining up in a 30 technique to line up in a 50 just because I know the matchup and what they want to do to try to, like, accumulate 5 yards. So I can potentially go and jump a spot route. Oh, we're playing quarter and a half. Great. I got a safety on top of me. I'm going to go hit that. He runs a run, a Yogi and up. Cool. He's going right to the safety. So it just allows you defensively to play a little bit faster when you become, single-handed, right? So that's why you got to sprinkle it in. I don't like going completely away from it, but I will say this. What do you do running the ball wise that sets you up for success? And when you have a younger offensive line, the easiest thing to do and with these running backs is to gap scheme, right? Pullers, traps, climbing to the next level. Why? I want to create seams for our running backs to hit downhill. So again, there's one thing from abandoning it, but there's also like what kind of route combinations can we do to where we can pick up and win first and second down to keep them guessing as to when we do want to run. That's kind of the point.
Yeah, the abandoning the run completely. First of all, you're going to get exotic blitzes. You're going to get things that'll make it harder on the offensive line to then pass protect. You can get different body personnel in there to be able to make sure you have your pass defenders, pass rushers on the field. And so that's going to be another element. You don't have to worry about the run. Like Schleich said, you're going to be deeper. You're going to be lining, like leaning into those things and those guys. So there's so much ultimately there that you've got to stay on it. You got to keep them honest with the run. And so I think they could have leaned into the pass and maybe thrown it 8 to 10 more times and maybe worked in some like perimeter screens, some things like that to get the defensive line and the linebackers running to maybe fatigue them a little bit. Then you can hit them through the middle. They had a draw that was lined up there, Schleich, we talked about on that 3rd and 10 that was wide open except for got to block Mason Graham, and they didn't even get a hand on him. Outside that, it was blocked beautifully. And so you've got to stay with it. And I think they dwell on it too much. They could have used some tempo. There's some other things they could have done. But people say just throw it every time. The offensive line, when you're having problems running the ball, you're going to have some of those same issues then in pass protection. But I'm with you, Schleich. I think they'll utilize some more gap scheme against Tennessee. It gives you the double teams. It helps out. Go ahead.
And I'd only just add this too. When all you do is go to the pass, you set yourself up for what happens if you go 3 and out of only taking 20 seconds off the clock.
Yeah.
Now your defense got to go back out there. And again, you have to get off the field on 3rd down. But those sustained drives, where's your defense now? Because they didn't have a chance to recover. Like that's why 1st downs are paramount. Field position is paramount. set your defense up for success. It allows them to play better. So again, that's called what? Complementary football. So you just can't abandon it, but you also got to think about, how am I going to put myself in the best position to get first downs and to sustain drives? And if that is with the pass, how do I still sprinkle in the run to do it effectively to keep them honest, to your point, Bob?
Absolutely. Well, that's it for today. Please be sure, folks, make sure you fire away a lot of comments and questions. We will get all of those answered here in the following couple of shows heading into the weekend. Coming up next, we'll wrap up the show with our parting thoughts from my guy, Anthony Schlegel. All right, Schlegs, you got 30 seconds. Parting thoughts from the dome of Schlegweiser.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Hey, here's the deal. We're seeing the portal, and I think we mentioned the Arizona State coach talking about, hey, just stay with us, play as we make this run. You're a critical part of this.
We're going to get into a lot of that tomorrow.
I know, but I'm not. But I'm like, we've had some transfers, right, that have coming out, and it's not like woe is me. The thing that I think that fans have to do is, when guys leave, it's like, hey, I appreciate the work that you did for being a Buckeye. Boom, I hope you have great success wherever you go in the future. And that's just kind of the mindset, because these people are trying to do what's best for them. But we've seen the guys that have transferred out of Ohio State have been here for quite some time, and don't ever diminish the amount of value that they added within the building, not necessarily just on the field, because they probably didn't get a ton of playing time, but the things that they added and the value they added in the program for the years that they were here, and just root on for their success in the future.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in today. Stay locked in. Tomorrow might be going just a smidge later, so account for that, and be ready to rock with you on Friday. And then we've got game week, and I cannot wait, and I am excited. Go Bucks. We'll talk tomorrow.